Welcome to SEC Central, where we bring you the latest highlights from the sporting world. Today's segment features a short video regarding the gender roles in sports and how it affects society. Throughout the video, we will be presenting about various athletes and mentally surrounding the characteristics of gender and how it affects the sporting world. We now present to you gender roles in sports.
Throughout history, we have seen there be a significant gap in how different genders have been portrayed and viewed by society in sports. There are constant battles between male and female athletes fighting for the same rights that should be allocated for everyone who plays sports, as ultimately sports are played for enjoyment. In today's society, arguments regarding the wage gap between men and women, media coverage, and sporting freedom are topics that are constantly brought to the table to be discussed. As women's sports as the women's sports world has become more and more independent, and as a result should require the same amount of respect as male-dominated Major League sports. Throughout this presentation, we'll be discussing and examining the various problems surrounding gender roles and examples of athletes who have defied social
When
constructs
looking at who
to
could
become
possibly be the
successful.
most dominant athlete, there are a lot of factors that the argument gets broken down to. We tend to look at successful male athletes such as LeBron James in basketball, Roger Federer in tennis, and Jordan Spieth for golf. Then we come into the discussion of gender. None of the athletes listed are women, as the impression that female sports elites can compete against men. However, that notion has been quickly dying over the recent years. In fact, the discussion of who is the most dominant athlete in modern day has now included strong female athletes such as Serena Williams in tennis and Ronda Rousey in mixed martial arts. If we look at sports in a general view, there are far more female athletes than just Williams and Rousey who are taking their sports by the storm. As a society, we might be late on the acceptance of females as dominant athletes, but more importantly, we are late on accepting women as the men's side of sports, no matter what job. As Williams and Rousey dominate their sport, other women have kicked the door down in other fields in different leagues. Will there be a time when men and women athletes are equal? Only time will tell. But nonetheless, society should agree that some women are going to be better in some things and some men are going to be better in other things. But the most important thing we need to do is respect female athletes as competitors. In tennis, for example, while Grand Slams pay the same prize money to male and female champions, the top male players constantly earn more in sponsorships and endorsements. However, there are reasons to be hopeful. For example, in cricket, there have been significant benefits for female players by raising their profile through bigger ground audiences and TV coverage, which has increased sponsorship opportunities. Although a big pay disparity still remains between male and female players in the sports world today. Therefore, in the sports world, pay equality is growing in some areas, such as cricket and tennis. As professional sporting brings in a ridiculous amount of money in general, we should find a way to invest more in our female athletes and pay them the same as their male counterparts. Women work just as hard as men, and they should not be limited because of gender to prove their worth.
The stigma surrounding women in sports has been present during ancient times, and the mentality that women should not be participating in sports due to a lack of mental and physical strength, mixed in with society's view and role of women, had restricted the involvement of women in sports. Times have changed, however. When the Olympics came around and the women were finally given a chance to participate in the events, they, however, faced harsh and negative reviews by the public and media. The mentality surrounding women did not change as various games evolved and soon became major league sports. Women were still not given a fair opportunity to participate, nor were they viewed as being gifted athletically. A common example of such a case where a woman was not given a fair opportunity is the case of Vernie Beatrice Jackie Mitchell, who was one of the first female baseball pitchers to pitch in Major League Baseball. She had managed to strike out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig back-to-back, two of the greatest to ever play the game. However, the teams and league overall saw this accomplishment as an embarrassment and decided to act upon it by terminating the contract of Mitchell and no longer allowing women to join any Major League Baseball teams from then on. This case is just one of many where women are not given equal opportunities to showcase their talents and athletic abilities. As a result, many women are given excuses such as their inability to cope with the mental and physical stress of such demanding activities, and are also treated to various ideologies by those who do not support the involvement of women in sports, such as women developing masculine. As time progressed, there was an increase in the involvement of women in various sporting divisions and the Olympics. But one of the more significant events that occurred, which opened the door for all athletes, was the London Olympics in 2012. The Olympics Committee had decided that the Olympic event would be available to both males and females, rather than having specific events for just one gender. This was monumental as there was a significant rise in the number of female athletes participating in various events from all over the world. Previous Olympics had only allowed certain events to be open for specific genders, which limited participation and often discouraged women from participating in a male-dominated event, or the other way around, where men would be discouraged from participating in a female-dominated event. There was also a heightened sense of sportsmanship all around, as the world was able to view athletes as not just being one sex or the other, but as individuals whom have worked extremely hard to compete and represent their countries, regardless of however the way they may look or present themselves to
There's inequity as well as inequality in the sports world. Today, although men and women both have their respective professional sports, there is an extreme inequity in the way they are regarded. Primarily, there is a large wage gap between men and women in sports due to low interest and thus revenue in women's sports. This discrepancy can be seen throughout most sports where a gender wage gap is common. For example, the U.S. women's soccer team earned $2 million for their first place finish, while the men's team earned $9 million after losing in the 16th round. Furthermore, in today's society, a stigma still exists around women playing sports. One telling factor is that as females get older, their sports participation drops because of the stigma as well as due to fear. In fact, from the ages of 15 to 20, sports participation in women drops from almost 40% to less than 20%. These social and economic inequalities in sports have given way for social scientists to analyze causation. One emerging view is the feminist theory, where they have explored the idea that the inequality is a result of gender-based discrimination. In today's sports, essentialism has perhaps taken over. Women are disregarded in sports due to the prevailing societal idea that women are not as good as men in sports, leading to the lack of media representation and thus pay. Another prevalent theory is the learning behavioral theory, which has looked at the possibility that negative reinforcement through social stigmas and views has resulted in a lack of women representation in sports. Through cultural ideologies, women who do not fit into the mold made for them by society will usually face isolation or alienation, along with the accompanying mental and physical harm. As a result, women in today's society are coerced into conforming to the societal ideologies of how women should approach sports.